Yeah, so this is basically the seventh class of your current affairs program. Okay. Now, yes, so jumping into the first topic. So here, this is a practice question for you. You can take a guess. That is, in the context of Indian history, Snehalata Mukhopadhyay, okay, case of 1914 revolved around. You can take a guess. 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 3, 3, 3, 1 and 2. Okay. 2. Okay. All right. So let's see here. 2 and 3. Fine. Okay. All right. So why are we focusing on that particular case? Because already there is a PYQ question on the same, right? There is a similar PYQ question based on a case. Okay. Now this case again was there in your Indian Express when it was asked. This question was asked, right? So along the same lines, I found another article which is there in your Indian Express that is regarding Snehalata Mukhopadhyay, right? So this is the case of 1914, and yes, why did she commit suicide? Because she was finding it hard to arrange dowry. Okay, she did not want to burden her father with the dowry arrangements. Okay, so here this case that is there, it is in context of the dowry system that was there of the time. Okay, now this case is very important because it left a lasting legacy in Bengal's history, and there are certain other aspects also that you should keep in mind, right? For example, first, the origins and evolution of the dowry system, the current dowry system. So here historian is there who has traced back this modern dowry system to Bengal. Okay, so earlier there used to be some gift exchanges, but in its current form, that is the issue of transactional marriages, where you see brides and grooms exchanging dowries. So that concept evolved around Bengal. Okay, so the emergence of marriage market, especially with increased education, okay, that came into play through this. Fine. Now, rising unemployment, soaring prices, and escalating living cost, all of the above are were one of the major reasons why this was promoted. This was acceptable to society. Okay. So increased education and at the same time linking education with salaries, just as it is happening now. So this give the rise to modern dowry system. Right. Now, what was the aftermath of the suicide? Okay, so here if you observe Snehalata's after her suicide, what you observe is there were many literary works that were written. Even Rabindranath Tagore mentioned or he criticized the dowry system. Okay, so here Bengal press was there which criticized dowry. Even caste-based organizations, they denounce the dowry practice. Okay, so here from the historical point of view, this is a very important case which highlighted the oppressive dowry system in India. Okay, so focus on that aspect, a very important case given in your Indian Express. So here, what would be the answer? The answer would be yes, it talks about the oppressive dowry system. Okay, the economic hardships faced by middle class, that was also there. Uh, because yeah, they were finding it hard to manage the dowry. Okay, so that aspect could also be there. Okay, but majorly it was dowry system. Fine, this is clear. Okay, the next one, we are talking about another campaign here. The exact question will not come, definitely, right? The exact question will not come, but understand ki yes, it is in context of talking about dowry system. And the second thing is it told the case of middle class people. The reason being, Snehalata was also from a very middle class family. Okay, so it highlighted the difficulties faced by parents in managing the dowry. Okay, so you can go with one and two. Fine. All right. Coming to the next theme. Now, this one is actually very, very important. That is Sarthi campaign. Okay, you can take a guess what is the primary purpose of this campaign. B, A, D, B, B, D, B, Saran, okay. A, B. All right. So let's see here. First, let's see the content and then we'll see. Okay. So here we have something known as Sarthi campaign 1.0. Now, why this is important? Because it's an initiative of Department of Social Justice and NALSA. Okay, so if you go through the PYQs, you already know whenever the question is regarding free legal aid, that questions have been already asked. Okay, so another initiative which focuses specifically on the vulnerable people and especially regarding legal aid. Okay, so this becomes very, very important. Okay, so it's a joint initiative of Department of Social Justice and Empowerment and National Legal Services Authority India. Okay, so what this initiative focuses on is on focusing on marginalized and vulnerable individuals of the society. Okay, so focusing on their legal rights, welfare entitlements, government schemes, and all of it. Okay, now when we talk about the focus groups here, okay, who all does the initiative focus on? So broadly, it focuses on all of them. Okay, that is scheduled caste is there, other backward classes are there, transgender persons are there. Okay, and then senior citizens is there, economically weaker section, sanitation workers, waste pickers, victims of substance abuse, and beggars. Okay, so it has a wider ambit, a wider focus group. Okay. Now, this campaign, as we have discussed, it is designed to empower individuals through awareness and assistance. Okay. Now, second thing that you should keep in mind here is it is not simply limited to the rural population. It is focused both on the urban as well as rural population. Okay. So the initiative focuses on both the areas, right? So for all marginalized people. Fine. Now, if this is clear, yeah. So what is the primary purpose here? Here it would be B. Okay. Yeah, B. Yeah, Dhatri, you can take it as a general statement. Okay. The first question, you can take it as a general statement. You can mark. Fine. Okay. If this is clear, we come to the next theme. Now, this one is again very important. The current Los Angeles fire. Okay. Now, this is an important theme, not just from the interview perspective, but it is also important from your prelims perspective. Okay. So here, what is the cause of this fire? Okay. So the first and the foremost thing here is the high pressure belts that are found between this Rocky Mountain as well as Sierra Nevada. Okay. So high pressure winds form near Great Basin. And basically these winds, here there is high pressure, here there is low pressure. So these winds starts to blow out. Okay. And as and when they blow out, they basically take away all the moisture that is there. Okay. So the wind basically compresses there and basically it is hot and dry winds which basically goes towards the coastal. Okay, so it dries up the entire area, and then if at all any flame does come, so then it becomes an extensive fire here. Okay, so what is the main reason? One is high pressure over here, and finally low pressure over here, and winds movement here. Okay, so that is the cause of Los Angeles fire. Okay, so the wind name is Santa Ana. Okay, so Santa Ana winds, they blow when high pressure builds over the Great Basin. Okay, and the pressure is low over the California coast. And the wind comes down the mountain, it compresses and heats up. Okay, so these hot and dry winds basically they dry out the forest and they ensure that there is wildfire. It fuels the wildfire. Okay, and how it is propagated? It is propagated through embers, but once it becomes airborne, this there is another term for it, that is firebrand. So remember this aspect also in context of what it is, firebrands. Okay, so it is in context of wildfires. Okay, now when we talk about Los Angeles, yes, there are three major fires which are currently going on. Again, this can be asked in the context of what? Places in news. So just remember these three fires. Okay. Now, apart from this, the government has also, now the researchers have recognized another theme here now, that is firehawks. Okay, that is another reason why forest fires are being, wildfires are going on. Okay, so here you can see firehawks are there. They are basically birds of prey in Australia. Okay, so now what do? They simply carry these sticks, burning sticks, and they transport it to another area and they just put it there. Okay, now what is the reason that they do so? These birds, why do they carry burning sticks? The reason is once they set up a place on fire, the prey that the prey that are there, they start to, these rats and all, they start to run away. Okay, because of the wildfire. So then these birds swoop in and catch hold of these prey. Okay, so firehawks basically spread wildfire as it makes it easier for them to catch their meal. Okay, so once they put their fire here, so by default, all the mouses will run away. So they swoop in and catch this. Okay, so this is known as firehawks and they are birds of prey in Australia. So this is another major reason why this is happening. Okay, so examples include brown falcons, black kites. Okay, so go through this aspect also. Fine. All right. Come to the next one. The next one is regarding another very important topic, Chief Election Commissioner. Okay. So here I think you can take a guess. What do you think would be the right answer? With reference to the selection process of Chief Election Commissioner, consider the following statement. Which statements are correct here? Four. Okay. Great. Okay. So here answer yes, it would be 1, 4. Okay. So that is correct here. So the answer is 1 and 4. Okay. Now, why are we focusing on this process? Because recently there were some changes made to the selection process of Chief Election Commissioner. Okay. So earlier what used to happen? Yes, you have Chief Election Commissioner, you have two election commissioners. So earlier, whichever was the senior most election commissioner, he was appointed as the next Chief Election Commissioner. Okay, but now because of this act, this process has changed. Okay, now the senior most election commissioner plus there would be four other members also who can be selected. Okay, so here who will select these four? Basically, it would be the law minister. He will set up a search committee. Okay, and he will finally give 5 names for the selection committee. So in the selection committee, you will have the prime minister, the cabinet minister, and the LOP. Okay, so earlier what used to happen, it was directly the senior most election commissioner who will directly become the chief election commissioner. But now the senior most election commissioner plus 4 other names will be proposed by the search committee to the selection committee. Okay, so this selection committee will choose out of these 5. Okay. Now, what is the point of contention here? The point of contention here is the selection committee can select from this panel or consider any other person also from outside. Okay, now this is where the issue is, and this is why in interview also many questions are asked on this. Okay, do you think this is a democratically viable process? Right. So here now, because of this provision, it can so happen that there could be a chief election commissioner who is not part of the election commission. So that can also happen. That is currently done under this act. Okay, so remember this, your selection committee will have wider array of candidates to choose from, and at the same time, yes, it can consider any other person from outside also. I hope this is clear. Okay, so now see, so currently, yes, you have Rajiv Kumar. Okay, so you have Rajiv Kumar, which is there, and you have Gyanesh Kumar here, right? So who was supposed to be the next chief election commissioner? Okay, so even he will be the potential candidate. He will be the potential candidate, but the act gives the selection committee the option to consider names from outside the election commission also. Okay, and all the candidates, they have to be current or former secretary level officers. Okay, so this is the provision that has been brought about. So just go through this. Okay, so what is the process? First is you will have a search committee. He will be headed by law minister. Okay, so he will be headed by law minister. Finally, at the bottom, what you will have, the selection committee, who will basically select the persons. Okay, so this is the basic process that is going on. Fine. All right. If this is clear, I hope this is clear, everyone. Okay, what is the process? Please go through this. This is important, new information. So very important. Fine. Okay. Coming to the next theme. Okay, next theme is again a very important topic for your prelims. That is PVTGs. Okay, so as and when we were going through the election commission, important news regarding the same, we came across 2 current affairs which you should know. That is, yes, for the first time, the primitive, yeah, the Jarawa tribes that are there, they will now feature in the voter list. Okay, and yes, in the past election that was held last year, yes, Shompan tribe, they actually participated in the election process. Okay, so keyword is there, important tribe is there, and yes, so you should focus on the same, right? So now when we talk about PVTGs, they are basically a sub classification of the scheduled tribes in India. Okay, so currently how many PVTGs are there? How many have we recognized? It is exactly 75. Okay, we have recognized 75. So PVTGs are characterized by, yeah, certain declining or stagnant population could be there, low level of literacy could be there, or their agricultural method is very, their technology is very backward, economically they are backward, homogeneous, or they have absence of written language. So these are certain parameters under which PVTGs are characterized, right? Now, why are we focusing on this? Because there is already a UPSC PYQ question on the same. Okay, so consider the following statements about PVTGs. This is already a PYQ question. Okay, so then what should you focus on from the current affairs point of view? This is habitat rights, very important. Okay, so in the current affairs, you have a PVTG from Odisha, which has been recognized of its habitat rights under Forest Rights Act. Okay, so it becomes the sixth PVTG to get habitat rights over forest in Odisha. Okay, so these habitat rights, they are basically recognized under FRA, and now they have the government has officially recognized that they have some customary traditions with respect to the forest lands. Okay, so prior to the legal entitlement of habitat right, these communities were officially prevented from entering the forest land or using forest produce. Okay, now because these rights have been recognized, so the habitat right is recognized over customary territories. Okay, now, so with this, Odisha becomes the leading state in India to give approval to habitat rights. Okay, so it has basically six PVTGs which have been recognized. So officially two have been recognized. The other four are in the process. Okay. Now Chhattisgarh has also given habitat rights to two tribal communities, Madhya Pradesh to one and Maharashtra to one. Okay. Now which state has the maximum PVTGs? Again, it is Odisha. Okay. Highest among all states and union territories. Now, PVTG is spread over how many states in India? This is exactly your UPSC question. It is spread over how many states? It is exactly 18. Okay. And union territory, it is spread over 18 states and one union territory. Fine. So please focus on this aspect. Very important from your prelims standpoint. Very important news. Okay. Now, what is the process of habitat rights recognition? Yes. So when you recognize it, yes, you recognize the right of habitation and customary habitat. Okay. So it is based on four parameters, and there are multiple departments which basically coordinate to achieve this. Right. So there are traditional tribal leaders who are consultant about their traditions, about their customary traditions. And once the government recognizes, yes, these traditions are valid, then they are given those habitat rights. Okay, so that is the process of habitat recognition. Okay, so very important from your prelim standpoint. Please go through it, read more on it. If you want this news that is there directly covered from down to earth. So very important news. Please do cover the content. Fine. So if this is clear, we come to the next current affairs, that is something known as Stargate project. So if you have read the newspaper in the last 2-3 days, you might have heard of this term. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose of Stargate project initiated by the US government? B, B, you said B or C. Okay. Yeah, so let's see here. D. Yeah, so when we talk about Stargate project, it is basically we are the US government is now trying to invest $500 billion to ensure that the AI infrastructure is set up in place for the next decade. Okay, so they are trying to invest 500 billions towards building advanced AI infrastructure. Okay, so what is the project all about? The project is all about setting up massive data centers in the US. Okay, so the aim is also to develop artificial general intelligence AGI. Okay, so there are basically 2-3 major players here which are involved. One is OpenAI. OpenAI would be the one which would be leading this project. Okay, and then you will have SoftBank which will be financing the project. Okay, and then there is Oracle also. Okay, so three major firms here. Okay, so the intent is basically to make or to ensure that AI infrastructure is set up in US. Okay, so focus on this aspect, right? So here the answer would be what? The answer would be B. Okay, it is AI infrastructure in US. Fine. All right. If this is clear, okay. Now this one, I think in the test I have already asked this. That is Google Willow quantum chip, but we wanted to cover this in current affairs also. Okay, two, three very important things that we covered in the test. I'm again repeating it. The reason is they are very important from the technological point of view, right? So first and the foremost thing, yes, Google Willow quantum chip. First, yes, when you hear the name, it is not a supercomputer, but it is a quantum chip. Okay. Now, why is it important from a technological standpoint? So whenever you talk about quantum computers, what you realize is why they are not successful, or why is it that we have not developed quantum computers on scale. The reason is the information gets lost. Okay, as and when the computing power of the quantum computer increases, qubits that are there, okay, they tend to rapidly exchange information with the environment, because of which the information that is there, it is not stable and it gets lost. Okay, so one of the major problems with quantum computers is as and when the computing power of quantum computer increases, the error part of it also increases. Okay, so this is what is known as this term, that is below threshold. Okay, now Willow, why it is significant? Because it has been able to reduce errors exponentially. Okay, so as and when the quantum power is increased there, the errors are also not increasing exponentially, it is actually reducing. Okay, so this accomplishment is known as below threshold. Okay, so remember this aspect, this term that is there, it is used in context of quantum computers. Okay, remember this below threshold. Okay, similarly, there is another term that you should know, that is random circuit sampling. Okay, so here also the same concept, that is when we talk about random circuit sampling, what we are using is, because we need to see our quantum computers that we are developing, how much faster they are from the classical supercomputers. Okay, so random circuit sampling basically is a technique where you basically test your quantum processors. Okay, so you give a problem to them and find out how faster they are than other currently available supercomputers. Okay, so here Google's Willow quantum chip, it also used random circuit sampling to perform a computation under 5 minutes, to solve a problem basically under 5 minutes, which would take classical supercomputer 10 septillion years. Okay, so it is much, it's a very major advancement in Google. Okay, so both the terms random circuit sampling and below threshold, both in the context of quantum chip. Okay, remember this aspect. Fine. Okay, if this is clear, we come to the next one. Yes. Which of the following technology is considered under negative emission technology? Which one do you think can be categorized under negative emission technology? 1, 2, 5, 5, all. One and two. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. So 2 and 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So when we talk about negative emission technology, we basically mean CO2 is basically what? It is removed, right? We are talking about it being removed from the atmosphere, right? So here we have basically what? Okay, we have basically afforestation, which is considered, bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, which is also considered, and enhanced weathering. Okay, these three are considered as, yes, negative means it is taking in, it's not no greenhouse gas emission, it is taking out, okay, emission CO2. Okay, as and when it works, it takes out CO2, greenhouse gas emissions, right? So here it is actually 1, 2, and 5. Okay, now here we are basically focusing on this one, that is bioenergy with carbon capture and storage. Okay, now why are we focusing on this? Simply because this is now one of the major ways in which the global bodies, right, international bodies are trying to ensure less, uh, that is to fight climate change. Okay. Okay. So this is the intent, similar language, which does not emit nahi hai. That is Pratyusha. It means basically as and when you use it, right? For example, afforestation, if you go plant some trees, what happens? It is the CO2 is removed, right, from the atmosphere, right? It does not emit, it is removed. Okay, same goes for this also, and same goes for enhanced weathering also. The more weathering of rocks happens, here also the same. That is calcium carbonate happens and it is stored. Okay, so that is the intent. Fine. Now, when you talk about bioenergy and carbon capture, what happens here is, yes, so CO2 is there in the atmosphere. The plants take up CO2. Now, when you burn up that biomass, generally what happens? You get heat. When you heat up energy, crops, residues, you get heat. And there is CO2 production also. Okay. So generally what we do, we find heat and we use it as our energy source. Okay. But the CO2 that will be produced here, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to capture it and finally store it in deep geological formations. Okay, so this is considered as one of the most viable ways in which you can fight climate change. Okay, that is, you can get energy and at the same time you can capture the CO2 and store it under geological formations. Okay, so it is being discussed right now. So what is the reason? See here, this is the important reason. Bioenergy with carbon capture and storage is the only carbon dioxide removal technique that also produces energy, that also provides energy. Okay, all other removal techniques, we spend energy, we expend energy, whereas here we are able to generate the energy and at the same time remove CO2 also. Okay, so that is why this is being considered, right? So it plays a very important role in decarbonizing sectors. And what is this technology all about? It is, yes, burn up the biomass to produce energy and capture the carbon and finally store it under the geological formations, right? So please go through this. Okay. So this is something which is being developed, which is there in your news also, especially in the UN website, it has been discussed. So please go through it. Fine. All right. If this is clear, we come to the next one. The next technology is, yes, scramjet technology. Okay. So recently DRDO has successfully demonstrated active cooled scramjet combustor ground test for 120 seconds for the first time in India. Okay. So this technology indigenously developed by Defense Research and Development Authority. Okay. Now, why are we developing this technology? So as to ensure we can use it in our hypersonic missiles. Okay, so the success of hypersonic missiles is scramjet. So what is the purpose here? You can see here. So currently when we talk about turbojet, yes, the airflow comes in, the fuel is injected, it is burned, and finally it is out. Okay. Now when you are talking about subsonic air speeds, so then you use ramjet. Okay, that is your Mach is less than 5. Okay, for less than Mach 5, the air flows in again. Here combustion happens and it is pushed out. But as and when you enter hypersonic missiles here, so it is above Mach 5. So then the flames that are there, it is very hard to control those flames there. Okay, it is also very hard to ensure proper ignition. So that is why this technology is much more, uh, this is a technology that we are looking for. Okay, so scramjet technology, when you say this is much more efficient than ramjet, the reason being it has a much simpler structure also. Okay, it has less moving structures, it is much more simpler, and it is highly efficient. So this is the technology that we are currently pursuing. Okay, so when you talk about scramjet technology, yes, it is developed by, currently being developed by Defense Research and Development Authority. It is the key to hypersonic vehicles. In the key to hypersonic vehicles is scramjets. Okay, and yeah, hypersonic missiles are class of weapons that travel at a speed greater than Mach 5. Okay. Now there are multiple technologies that you have to focus here. The most important one is, yes, you have to ensure that this does not break apart or it is able to take up the heat. So for that, we have something known as thermal barrier coating. So this also DRDO has indigenously developed right now to withstand extreme temperatures during hypersonic flight. Okay, so directly taken from your DRDO website, given in your news. So please cover the same. Okay, now the next one, and which we think would be very important for your prelims this year, is crops. Okay, so already asked in your test, but still repeating it because this is very, very important. Okay, that is compact research module for orbital plant studies. Okay, that is crops. So it is basically an unmanned experimental module. Okay, the intent is to see if we can grow plants in space. Okay, so it is to develop ISRO's capability for growing and sustaining plants in space. So yes, you are germinating seed and ensuring that plant is grown for two leaves, right? So that is the intent. Now, what is the plant which has been selected? Focus on this also. Okay. Now here the intent is, yes, to stimulate Earth-like environment, but gravity will not be there. Okay. Still, is it able to grow? Right. Now, what is important for you here is this crops that is there. It was flown under which mission, which payload? Okay, and this mission that is there, it was also part of space docking experiment. Okay, so this one I think already covered by Vikas sir, right? So again, a very important payload which went with the same. Okay, so this also you should know. Okay, so please go through this. This is important topic. Okay, very important from your prelims standpoint. Fine. Okay, come to the next one. Next, another important issue, that is coordinated lunar time. Okay, so this also you can just go through it. Why we have covered this is because we were going through the NASA website. Now they are trying to create a standard time for moon. Okay, so currently what is happening, whenever moon missions are being sent, they follow the time periods of their of the country which has sent them, basically. Okay, so for each and every moon mission, each and every country, when they send their moon missions, it follows a different time period depending upon the local time. Okay, but if you want to ensure some interest, if you want to ensure greater travel in the space, then you need to have certain coordinated lunar time, which every country will follow. Okay, so currently NASA is creating this. The reason is it wants to create a dedicated global satellite navigation system for the moon by 2030. So it wants to ensure that each and every country follows the same time period. Okay, so any commercial operation on lunar surface, it will have to follow this time period. Okay, now what is the reason we are developing this? The reason is, see, Earth basically rotates. When we say Earth rotates, it is for 24 hours, right? And it completes its rotation in 24 hours. But when it comes to the moon, the rotation speed is much more slower and it takes days to complete. Okay, so therefore, we cannot ensure that the same time period that we use in Earth and the same clock would be viable on Moon. So that is the reason we are developing this coordinated lunar time. Okay, so please go through this aspect also. Directly taken from your NASA website. Fine. Okay. Come to the next one. Okay, now this one is again very important. Already asked in test, but again covering this. The reason is it's there in your Hindu also. Okay, this experiment is there in your Hindu. So please know in what context this is used. That's all. Okay, you don't have to know the experiment and all. Yeah, the experiment was to find dark matter. The intent was to find dark matter, but it has been unsuccessful. Okay, so Lux Zeppelin experiment. Similarly, there are others also. Zeno, this one, and there is one more, Panda. Okay, all these experiment have been created with the intent to detect dark matter. Okay, so observe weakly interacting massive particles, but the result has been a failure. Okay, so just go through it. That is enough. Fine. Okay. Now we come to the next term, that is tactile internet. Now this one, what do you think? What do you understand by tactile internet? You can take a guess here. One, one, okay. Okay. Three, four, three, one, three, four. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, now why this is important? Because currently the government has just 2, 3 months back, the government has talked about transitioning towards 6G, right? Transitioning to 6G by 2030, right? So when we talk about 6G, we are now talking about tactile internet. Okay, so what is it all about? So let's see the diagram itself. So here the intent is key, yes, you will be using some devices, and at the same time, here there would be a robot which you will be able to control to perform certain objectives, right? For example, here one example could be, yes, doctors using the same. Okay, so doctors are basically using it through tactile internet, and finally here the surgery is being performed by proper robots. Okay, so here it is the doctor who is just using this tool, and at the operation theater it is telesurgery being happening. Okay, so here again, this operation, it's not necessary that they have to be physically present, but it can be virtually done over long distances also. Okay, similarly, you can see here also, that is in tele driving also, what can happen? A Uber driver is there sitting in his home and driving the car. Okay, and then yes, you can use. Okay, so it is directly related, and all these technologies can be used through 6G, right? So basically, less human interface and more work done by robotics, or yes, all of this, right? So that is the purpose of tactile internet. Okay, so it is a communication technology that enables real-time transmission of data, allowing users to remotely control devices and interact with systems as if they are physically present. Okay, so over long distances, this can be done. So this is the basic advantage of transitioning to 6G. Okay, so latency period is very low. Fine. So please go through this. So here, what would be the answer? The answer would be, we are talking about a technology which ensures real-time remote control with touch. Okay, the feeling of touch. Okay, so please go through this. Fine. Now, what is the application here? Yeah, so application could be healthcare, remote surgeries could be done. Okay. Similarly, education and training. Here also autonomous systems, industrial automation could be there, gaming, much more, immersive virtual reality as if we need that. Okay. And finally, smart cities also. Okay. That is precise control of urban infrastructure. So the application wise also, once such a question is asked, it is broad. Fine. All right. This is clear. We come to the next one. Yes. The International Year of Glaciers Preservation, yeah, so it is 2025, which has been observed by United States as the International Year of Glaciers Preservation. Okay, now here just go through it. Yeah, most glaciers found in the polar region and tropical glaciers found in the mountains, right? So it is March 21st. Okay, so remember that date. Similarly, we also discussed one, if you remember, Meditation Day. When was it? For the first time UN recognized this. It is December 21. Remember these dates because UPSC is also going towards SSC pattern now. Okay. So that is the reason these kind of questions can also be expected in future, right? So that is why the most important dates at least you should know. Fine. Okay. Come to the next one. Okay. Now this one is important. That is indigenous sickle cell disease drug. Okay, so recently you have a Delhi-based pharmaceutical company which has developed an indigenous new drug for sickle cell disease. Okay, now why this is important? Because this drug is India's first indigenous room temperature stable drug for sickle cell disease. Okay, so last year the even Prime Minister launched a mission to eliminate sickle cell. Okay, so that mission was launched. Now we have a indigenous drug for the same. Okay, so that is why we are covering this, right? Now, sickle cell disease, it's an inherited genetic blood disease. So as the name suggests, your red blood cells basically take a sickle shape. Okay. Now, why this is important, why the government is focusing on eliminating the same? Because it affects our tribal population disproportionately. Okay, so India has listed sickle cell disease as one of the 10 major problems affecting the tribal people. Okay, so you can see here the central government recently announced the launch of this mission to eliminate sickle cell disease by 2047. Okay, so here you can see the inheritance pattern also. If the mother has a trait, the father has a trait, there are four possibilities. So here they can be again carriers, whereas here the person, if they have both the trait, this person will have the sickle cell disease, right? So as and when sickle cell is there, the problem is again it impacts, it ensures that it gets stuck in the blood vessels. Okay, so that is the problem here. That is sickle cells are there and they block the flow of blood. Okay, so normally it just passes through, whereas here it is blocking, right? So that is the reason why this is an issue. Okay, so please go through this. Why it is there? Because again, we have discussed this, Simon, right? That is, if there is a carrier there and cross, we do not say marriages is happening outside, right? In tribal population, what is happening? Marriages is happening within itself. So there is greater likelihood that if both are carriers, they will get so, right? Because in tribal population, what happens? The marriage happens within the tribe. Yes, yes, got it. Right. Yeah, so when we talk about, yes, endogamous. So when we talk about National Sickle Cell Anemia Elimination Mission here, so yes, the last year Prime Minister of India launched this mission to eliminate it by 2047. The aim was to screen 7 crore people under 40 years of age. Okay, so it is coming under National Health Mission. So please go through this. A very important mission, very important disease, and sickle cell has already been asked by UPSC. Okay, so that is the reason you have to focus on it. It has been asked in the 1990s. So please go through it. Fine. All right. That is clear. Okay. So with that, we basically end the class for today. Okay. So your current affairs class is done. The next class for you will be on Saturday. Right. Now, regarding the economics class, the students who are attending economics class, you can attend the economics class. The classes will be at 7 a.m. in the morning, and the days will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so Vikas Sir's classes will be on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They are basically for economics, basics of economics. Okay, so only few students attended. If you're finding it hard or if you're finding economics hard, the basics part of it is covered in Vikas sir will be covering. Okay, so please do attend those classes also. It will improve your marks. Okay. All right. So with that, I end the class. And if you have any doubt, you can stay back, you can ask. The rest of you can leave. The class for today is over.